You know, the Warhammer settings are the wildest sort of paradoxes, ultimately.
Yes.
No argument there?
Nope.
Only one-word responses?
Indeed.
You good, man? Normally you're the most emotional of the group, and that's including me.
Look, I'm pissed that Margaret keeps beating me at video games. She asked me to join her in a cooperative game, but I just want to beat her legitimately.
You and me both, honestly, but I'm used to losing. I don't think anyone could possibly beat my record of losing games for any game, really. I even lose to people who've never played said games before. Card games, video games, war games, hell, there's a reason I'm the forever GM of every game I'm a part of. You know, because of low rolls for the enemies are the ones you tend to want, from the player's perspective at least. Hell, I find it funny too, though a couple of weeks ago I got so annoyed I just said screw it and ended the game early. No dice roll got over 10 on the D20. Well, one did at the beginning and I can't recall what that was for. But we should probably get into the horror subject of this video. You know anything about the Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar, the latter one specifically?
Just the rumors I hear through the shadows in the warp. Mostly the weird connections the two realms have through said warp, since both seem to be linked to the realms of chaos.
You can hear the shadows?
I'm a mutated gene stealer by the name of Dean Stealer. What did you expect?
You know, good point. Well, I wanted to talk about a single character in the Age of Sigmar setting, and the horror that is her background alone. Her name is Neave Blacktalon. Neave? We're gonna call her Neave. She is an assassin for the Stormcast Eternals, but she's also got a drive to figure out who she was before dying her first time. She keeps having dreams about her past lives. Random ass people who die, usually to an absolute giant of a Chaos Lord. Now, this is weird. Very weird for a Stormcast Eternal. Most Stormcast Eternals have little feelings that haunt them about their original life, but nothing really more than that. The fact that Neave has nightmares about what she thinks is her original life is an absolute enigma. Now, with each death a Stormcast is reforged, their body being rebuilt around their soul. Some things I've found say the original body is destroyed in a flash of lightning, thus the term Stormcast, but that makes Neave a little more confusing. With each reforging, the emotions that an Eternal has about their old life gets more and more broken, leading them being sent into madness, and possibly no longer being reforged. Sometimes, not always. I think Sigmar finds it funny sometimes when they go crazy. Now, Neave has gone through a lot of reforging, which means she should be insane. Those dreams should be gone, but they just keep coming. She's essentially the exact same. She's an elite assassin, but very bad at staying alive. She always comes back with her friends though. Lorai, who's a sea elf and a magic whatever the fuck, and because she's an elf, she doesn't deserve to be allowed to breathe, and I think that she is part of the problem. Shakana Goldenblade, who's a marksman master, but also a bit of a superstitious whack. Rostus Oxenhammer, who's the face of Age of Sigmar this edition, despite only being a unique model in an army of renown or regiment of renown or whatever, and Hendrik the Silver Wolf, who's also her boss and her, well, We'll talk about that in a minute. For whatever reason, every time Neave has a dream, she decides to investigate the area she had the dream about, usually finding a corpse there and wondering if that's her original corpse, while looking into things. Now, this makes the lightning destroying the original body thing sort of confusing, but maybe said lightning only destroys the reforged bodies? I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not gonna look it up just for this video. Every time she gets close to these bodies, she investigates them and starts getting this feeling, this haunting feeling. This voice begins to whisper to her, and then she always dies. She never sees her killer, but when she's reforged, she goes back to her job, at least usually. Hendrik is also her jailer. He keeps her without knowledge of who she was. And why is that? Why does he not want her to know who she once was? Well, she was once a giant knight of chaos. Every time she dies, she goes to this in-between zone with multiple doors. Some give her chances to explore who she was. 2 send her back to the world of the living, the mortal realms. But every time, there's someone there, answering her questions. Who was she? What did she do? Who was the one who died in her dreams? And who was the one she killed? Those questions are answered to her in her show Blacktalon, but not answered to us, really. The show made me realize something about this situation. There are 2 people in the Blacktalon assassination team that are given one job and are perpetually raised from the dead to do that job. Neave Blacktalon, the assassin, whose whole job is to kill VIPs who stand against the Stormcast Eternals. She's meant to be constantly tested to prove herself to Sigmar and to fight against her chaos urges. Something I want to point out that the show made about her implies she's turned back to chaos multiple times. Because that guide that is in that in-between that answers all her questions says that she usually goes back to Sigmar. Not always. But the other one with one job is Hendrik, whose whole job is to make sure she does not learn in her new lives who she was originally, a Chaos Lord, that Sigmar thought was cool, wiped her memories in hopes she doesn't screw everyone around her, but because of how chaos works, she's constantly being reminded and pulled back to it. She knows something's not right, and he's always meant to kill her every time she gets too close to finding out the truth. But there's always a chance she'll choose to go back to chaos, and it's implied she does several times, so Hendrik has to kill her again. She comes back in the forge, usually alone, with just Hendrik asking her questions. Both of these characters are in a perpetual cycle to do this one job. As punishment, they themselves do not remember. Imagine living through that. So, in my opinion, this might genuinely be the greatest torture one could go through in the Age of Sigmar setting. Is it really? I don't know. I know very little about this setting, so... Now, I need to prepare for the last week of Spoopy Month. Shove off.